All right, everybody, welcome. I'm so excited here. I'm on the edge of my seat, waiting for the finals of the Pulse Pounding Short Story Challenge. So, in just a few minutes, I will be reading our finalists. There are, in fact, six of them. And then you are going to be able to vote on your favorites. Now, before I get started, I just want to say, congratulations to all of you. You did a fantastic job with this challenge. I found it very difficult to figure out who to end up here in the finalists. I'm very glad that this is not up to me to determine the ultimate winner. But I certainly hope that I well, I mean, I'll just say the best of luck to all of you. It's going to be incredibly difficult. I was particularly blown away with how many of you followed the guidelines. Now, of course, we got some that didn't, but a lot of you did, in fact, follow the guidelines and kept your sentences short. And I know that was challenging for some of you. Tim, no, I'm kidding. But some of you, it was a real difference. It was real change. It's not the way you typically write. So I certainly hope you found this challenge interesting, and perhaps it might affect how you will write in the future, particularly tense scenes. And yeah, there's some tense scenes coming up, but it is a variety. It is a variety for sure. It was brutal. Yeah, well, that's how we like it around here. Amazingly difficult. Yes, for sure. For sure. Before I go ahead, though, and read those entries, I do have some prizes to give away because a part of this challenge is, of course, some prizes. So we have some prizes to give away that have been pulled at random from anybody to for anybody, even if you didn't submit something, if you just showed interest, you get into. So I know that not everybody who finishes even submits. So you still have a chance for sure. All right. So first prize we're going to give away is the is the immersive settings workshop. So this is a great workshop. It includes information from Rain Hall, the writer of the Writer's Craft series, and it's about how to make your settings more interesting and immersive. So we have two winners of this. We have Jamie, and congratulations to Jamie, and Hops. Congratulations to you, Hops, as well. Yes, tense, isn't it? Uh-huh. And then we have the next prize I'm going to be giving away, which is the Story Sculptor course. So this is a interactive course that allows you to work with me and learn all about how to take that first draft into a wonderful finished product. We go through all of the steps. We go through how the writer's desk helps you out with that as well. It's a really great program. I know some of you have already been on it already, but that will be starting in July. So the people who are able to get to attend it for free as a prize, we have CMT June 5. Yes, I'm reading off emails here. And Wes Wagoner 1. Wes Wagoner 1. Congratulations to you. You are the winners of the Story Sculptor course. All right. The next workshop that we're going to be giving away is writing better emotions. And this is another one that comes with information from Rain Hall, writer of the Writer's Craft series. It's a great workshop that's going to go into how to talk about emotions better. We're all used to doing the he was sad, he was mad, they were happy, and things like this. All right. Uh, we have Moon Dreams 2006. You're one of the winners of that. And Kimberell 1987. You are another winner of the Writing Better Emotions. And the final giveaway we're going to give away is the Narrative Tension Workshop. So the Narrative Tension Workshop is, of course, a great way to learn about tension. Of course, this is what this whole challenge was about. So if you want to brush up your skills, the Narrative Tension Workshops are great for that. It's coming up in July again. We have Cowling Amber 526 at and Scotty D and 1964 and a lot of numbers after that. You are the winners of the Narrative Tension Workshop. But I do want to let you know, if you want to join in with the Narrative Tension Workshop and you are not an AutoCrit Pro member yet, we do have a really special offer as part of this challenge. And that is that if you become an annual member right now, I'm going to throw the link into the chat, you will get that Narrative Tension Workshop for free. So that's really good. It makes it, if you take off the value of the Narrative Tension Workshop, it means it's like well less than $100 for the whole year of AutoCrit. It's not even like $10 a month. It's a terrific deal. Everybody, we have a lot of lifetimers on here who, they love it. It's fantastic. Tonight, we even have a story doctor session that you could just jump right in and you could start getting live feedback from me. So feel free to become a member if you haven't already. All right. So I know you're here for the stories. I'm here for the stories. Let's go ahead and start reading some stories, shall we? I'm going to have to switch to my screen here. Hold on. There we go. All right, so here we go. Like a puppet, strings pulled tight, she proceeds through the corridor. Wait, hold on. Sorry, I had the wrong window open. Here we go. Let me move it over. I don't want to miss the chat. Okay. Like a puppet, strings pulled tight, she proceeds through the corridor. Pat, tap, one foot lands in front of the other. Neither thoughts nor memories crowd her brain as she gazes at the blank walls. No ideas, no ambitions, no goals. Only vacant functionality governs her body as she trails the rhythmic beat of boots. At the end of the corridor, an armed, uniformed man thrusts her toward an entrance. She crosses the threshold into a cavernous room, blinking as her eyes adjust to its chilly brightness. All clear, someone says somewhere behind her, the voice leaping off the lab's concrete walls. Monitors beep in response, their shrill voices calling out warnings. Lights flicker overhead. Metal scrapes against metal and the door closes. She stares ahead, empty-eyed, watching the gap narrow and the door grind shut. At the whine of the locking mechanism, her chest tightens, tapping her breath in her chest. Unsolicited bitterness blisters on her tongue. It urges her to run, but she remains rooted to the spot. Silence curls around her ankles like a feral cat until footsteps echo through the emptiness and jostle it aside. Get in the tank. Though she recoils at the sound of his voice, she obeys. She takes off her overall, drops it to the ground, and lies down on the worn metal slab above the water-filled tank. Cuffs slide around her wrists and ankles, snap shut, and tighten with a hiss. Goosebumps spread like hives across her body when the officer's cologne announces him 3 paces ahead of her arrival. Her nostrils flare. She swallows, trying to rid herself of the smell, of its taste. It rages across her senses, triggering a prickling at the back of her head. She strains against the cuffs and suddenly stops. A flicker, a memory of a memory. Despite dissolving instantly, it painted traces of a sneer into the corners of her mouth. The officer pauses and stares at her. Probing, his detached gaze worms its way into her eyes. She freezes, holds her breath, and only dares to breathe once he averts her face. Disinfectant tainted air fills her lungs as frosty hands graze her skin. He checks the cuffs at her wrists and ankles, sending unbidden waves of terror through her. Restraint secure, release connector. From behind her, cables and electrodes slither from their compartments, clanging and growling. She flinches and squirms, her body reacting to its memory, not hers. Cold sweat purls on her forehead as panic robs her breath, steals her voice, and traps her in stillness. Undeterred and uncaring, the officer places small metal plates on her temples before reaching for the connector to plug into the base of her skull. Pain flashes bright like lightning across her brain. Her back arches while a scream gurgles in her throat. She chokes and grasps for air, struggles and strains until she collapses onto the slab. Through the haze enveloping her, the officer's voice rings out. All clear, begin pour! Again, the machines answer with a cacophony of beeps, and the slab descends, gradually submerging her. As the water closes over her, agitation causes her heart to sputter. to skip a beat before leaping a dozen ahead. Bubbles soar to the surface from a drowned scream, while sodium ions cling to her nasal membranes. As a current surges through the connector, it sets her brainstem afire. Lightning cascades through the base of her skull, washing over her like a tidal wave of sparks, pulling her under and pulling into every crevice of her mind. Memories flit across her synapses, slotting into the empty spaces until she remembers herself. Cleo. Images thaw and animate, playing in the background. Snippets and fragments collide, jumble, and snap together. Voices ebb and flow. Words like misplaced subtitles accompany memories before mixing with lullabies and butterflies and startling blue skies. She sees a little boy, eyes as green as the ocean, his hand reaching for her. An excited giggle of joy fills her ears while the sun warms her skin and grass tickles her toes. Love drips from her lips, sweet and gushing, only to be wrenched away a moment later. Her stomach lurches when the world snaps into focus, overwhelming her senses with here and now. She gasps. Water fills her mouth and lungs. She swallows, coughs, spits, strains against the cuffs holding her in place. The water shifts in tune with her struggle, sloshing against the glass, gradually receding until her face breaks through the surface. Air. She blinks. Recognition mixes with dread as she wrestles to discern if she is still here or again. From afar, she hears a voice say, "Pour concluded. Subject 148609 restored." Cleo wheezes as she inhales gulp after gulp of recycled air. "Welcome back, Cleo," a familiar voice greets her. "Let's pick up where we left off." Cleo glares at the plain, bald man on the platform towering above her. "Once more," he says in a soothing tone, incompatible with the self satisfied smirk dancing on his lips, "I'll ask you to tell us what we wish to know." "Get lost." Her voice sounds strained and unfamiliar. "Tell us where you hid the device." "No." "Why the rush? Take your time and think it over. Or are you so eager to return to the jar?" Cleo grinds her teeth, wondering how many times they have extracted her consciousness. 6 times, 10, maybe more. She can't tell. It all feels like one long nightmare to her. One continuous, never ending moment punctuated by flashes of controlled drowning. How long? How long what? How long since the last time we spoke? He grinned sheepishly. An hour, a day, a while. What difference does it make? She curls her fingers into fists as he waves her off. Time is relative to us. He studies her with detached interest, waiting for a reaction. When none arrives, he says, "While your efforts at resistance are noble, they are futile. Eventually, you will share what lies hidden in your memories. Ultimately, we will get what we desire. Why prolong this? Why resistance suffer?" He pauses, her gaze lingering on her as he knits compassion into his features. "Now, where is it?" "Never," she shakes her head for emphasis. "I'll never help." "Why not? You are merely postponing the inevitable." She tightens her jaw, fearing the truth in his words. "You're lying. How much more time do you wish to waste? How many more days, months, years?" "We can wait. We have all the time in the universe. But your time is finite, limited, and running out. So free yourself. Tell us where the device is." Hampered by the plug at the base of her skull, Cleo lifts her head off the slab. "No. If you tell us what we wish to know, we will restore you. We will permanently reunite your body with your memories." "I don't care." "Think of the green-eyed boy. He'll grow old and die, never knowing what happened to his mother." Sorrow settles like a shroud over his features, obscuring indifference. "If you give us the device, we will unite you with him. Imagine the life you two could have, as one of us, as part of the collective." "At what cost?" "Life, obviously." Her chest tightens and she clenches her teeth, trying to ward off the images of torn bodies, mangled houses, and raised fields. Tears burn in the corners of her eyes. Go to hell. A few more iterations and you too will see reason. We all did eventually. Never, she chokes on the bitter truth woven into his words. I refuse. Perhaps we'll see, he winks at her. Until next time. With quivering lips, she stifles a sob. At least he'll be free, she thinks as the water closes over her. Cleo lets out an exhale. Eyes wide open, she watches the bubbles rise to the surface and burst, steeling herself for what is coming. Her shoulders tremble as the base of her skull grows hot and her memories recede like the tide out of her grasp. Unceremoniously and in a merciless process, they remove the non-essential parts, the memories that get in the way, the ones of her childhood, her family, her first kiss, all the bits that make her disappear. They haul her out and put her in a jar. When she opens her eyes, her head aches and she feels depleted. Although she can't say why, sorrow wraps itself around her heart as she rises from the tank. She sways on soft knees, her fingers gripping the edge of the tank for stability, until she exhales. Out with you, a stern face officer says, handing in an overall. She nods, get dressed, and leaves the room, returning to her station to rotate widgets to the solemn sound of digits counting down. All right, that story is called Immured. That's story number one. Story number two did not have a name, uh, so I will let you know what we're going to call it in just a bit. Sally's fingers trembled as she tried to push her key into the door lock. Behind the door, the grandfather's clock chimed, announcing it was 5:30 p.m. She had an hour and a half before Jeremy arrived home for work. Even though the bruises disappeared long ago, she still remembered the beating she received the last time her husband arrived home and his dinner was not ready. Forcing her hand to stop shaking, she slipped the key shaft into the hole. Sally turned the lock and swung the door open, hitting the doorknob against the wall. Sally jumped, dropping her purse. The color drained from her face. She ducked, preparing for a slap. Was Jeremy home early? A quick look around the room assured her she was alone. Grabbing her purse and bags off the floor, she scurried to the kitchen. She rested her purse on the edge of the counter, then placed the leftover money from the groceries and the receipt beside it. Jeremy would want to count the change. He'd inspect the receipt for unauthorized goods. She couldn't afford any mistakes. Her heart pounding, she filled the kitchen sink with cool water. After removing the chicken from the bag and its wrappings, she placed it in the bathwater and pulled out the package of giblets inside. Setting the giblets in the adjacent sink, she retrieved a baking dish from the cupboard and preheated the oven. 5:35 p.m. She removed the remaining groceries from the two bags. The four potatoes, the large red onion, and the stalk of celery she placed in the sink with the giblets. Next, she arranged the remaining items along the counter for Jeremy to view. In her haste, Sally dropped the bag of rice. As the bag tore open, little shafts of rice spread everywhere across the floor. I don't have time for this. Tears filled her eyes, blurring her vision. Sally hastily wiped them away and grabbed the broom from the pantry. She swept the floor, emptying the spilled rice into one of the grocery bags along with the giblets. She thought of placing the bag in the trash container, but Jeremy's rule was no food inside the container. Better not to change his anger. She ran to the door, threw it open, and ran a few feet down the hallway to the trash bin. She tossed the bag aside and dashed back into the apartment. 5:40 p.m. The faint humming of Sally's phone vibrating in her purse broke the silence. She glanced at the clock. No time to talk. Ignoring the sound, she removed the chicken from its bath and ran it under some fresh water. 5:45 p.m. Another glance at the clock. Did she have enough time to get dinner ready? As she carried the wet chicken to the baking dish, it slipped from her hand. She wrestled to catch it, her hands grasping at dead air as it slipped from her fingers repeatedly. The bird hit the floor with a plop and bounce. Not today. I can't afford mistakes. Sally closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Calm down. You can do this. Just concentrate on what you're doing. Sally lifted the bird and washed it again. Her floors were so clean the chicken had no chance of picking up any dirt, but she couldn't take a chance. Jeremy noticed everything. Holding the chicken as tightly as she could, she placed it in the dish. Grabbing various seasonings, she sprinkled them over the chicken. She needed to be careful. Jeremy liked his chicken tasteful, but not too spicy or salty. That looked right. She hoped it was. Next, she peeled and sliced the red onions into sections, lining them around the dish sides and inside the chicken cavity. She slipped 4 celery ribs into the cavity and the rest around the chicken. Placing the lid on the dish, she placed it on the middle shelf of the oven. 5:50 p.m. Her voice vibrated again. Who is calling? Jeremy? Fearing it was, she sprinted to the phone. Yanking it from her purse, she saw it was a message from her best friend, Denise. Sally, are you okay? I haven't heard from you today. Call me. No time for chit chat. Plus, she couldn't leave anything Jeremy might find. Sally immediately deleted the text. She placed her phone back inside her purse. Grabbing dishes and silverware, she set the table. With great care, she lined up the silverware perfectly. Each utensil had to be at the same height. Her mind flashed to the bruises on her wrist and arm when their alignment had been off last week. The bruises were gone, but not the memory of the incident. Tonight was not the night for another alteration. 6 p.m. Sally checked the chicken, basting it to keep the meat moist. Grabbing a pen from the cupboard, she filled it half full of tepid water. Clicking on a burner, she placed the water on the stove. Sally grabbed the 4 potatoes, making sure they didn't slip. She peeled and cut it into pieces, dropping the pieces in the water. 6:10 p.m. Sally breathed a sigh of relief. Everything was going as planned. Dinner would be on time as long as she stayed focused. She chopped a salad. The loud clicking of the clock was a constant reminder that time was getting short. Each clock stroke reminded her of her pounding heart. After tossing the salad, she placed it on the table in front of Jeremy's plate. On the right side, she sat two bottles of her husband's favorite dressings. 6:15 p.m. Sally froze at the sound of a car door. Its abrupt slam echoed through the house. Her heart pounded. Her vision blurred as the room spun. Was Jeremy Howe early? She wasn't ready. Was another beating coming? 6:18 p.m. Sally stared at the front door and waited and waited. It did not open. She ran to the window and peered through the blinds. There was no car in the driveway. Next door, she saw her neighbor getting groceries out of the trunk. It was her car, Sally heard. Grabbing the back of the recliner, she steadied herself. She breathed in a deep breath, blowing it out slowly. Keep calm. You're almost there. She placed 3 ice cubes in each of 2 glasses. She removed the gallon of water from the fridge and filled each glass 3/4 full. Jeremy only drank bottled water. Opening the drawer, she reached to the back and removed a tiny cardboard box. She pushed it open, revealing 2 sleeping pills Denise had given to her in case she ever wanted to get away from Jeremy. Removing the capsules, she opened them, pouring their contents into Jeremy's glass. To ensure there was no evidence, she swallowed the empty containers. She stirred the drink, then held it up to the right light. There was no evidence of what was inside. 6:25 p.m. The smell of the chicken filled the kitchen. She removed it from the oven and placed it perfectly on a serving tray. Across the front, she arranged the red onions. The celery ribs she threw down the garbage disposal. Poking a fork in their flesh, she tested the potatoes. They too were done. After draining the potatoes, she added butter, a small amount of milk, and a pinch of salt and pepper. 5 minutes remaining. She rushed with the bowl of potatoes and the chicken to the table, picking her steps carefully. Everything was ready. 6:30 p.m. The front door burst open. Jeremy walked in, tossing his coat on the chair. She noticed Jeremy sniff the air. Sally forced a smile on her face. Hi, sweetie. Dinner's ready. It better taste as good as it smells. Jeremy scanned the room, taking in every detail. He scooped up the change and receipt from the table as he meandered to the table. Later, he'd count the change and check the receipt. The room resonated with the sound of scraping wood as he pulled the chair out and sat down. Sally served the food. Fear coursed through her veins, but she kept her body still. She served herself, then sat. Her eyes remained focused on Jeremy. She held her breath as he took a bite. Would the food meet with his approval? His mouth moved slowly. His face remained stony. Not too bad. It's almost as good as my mom's. Sally smiled. He was happy, but like most nights, the happiness was short lived. Jeremy's eyes narrowed. His jawline tightened. What did she forget? You went outside, didn't you? Sally tried to quiet her pounding heart. Just to the store. I needed a few things for dinner. Did you remember to pick up another 6-pack? Yes, Sally smiled. It's on the bottom shelf of the fridge. She watched Jeremy drink half of the water. Would he taste the pills? He took another bite. They finished their dinner in silence. Sally ate everything on her plate, even though her stomach was upset. She didn't want to give Jeremy an excuse to get angry and lash out. Not tonight. Jeremy belched. That was good. You did well tonight. He finished the water and then stood. Clean this mess up. I'm going to watch the news. He walked to the fridge and grabbed a beer. 7 p.m. Sally waited until he was out of striking range, then rose. She cleared the table. Another dinner survived. If everything went according to her plan, it was the last one. Denise had offered her a place to stay. Jeremy had never met Denise. He didn't know where she lived. She could hide there in safety if she could just make it out without his knowledge. While washing the dishes, she forced herself not to glance at the clock. If Jeremy noticed her preoccupation with the timepiece, he might get suspicious. Once the dishes were done, she wiped down the table, counter, and stove. Wiping her hands with the towel, she at last glanced at the clock. 25 minutes until the bus arrived at the bus stop. She prayed Jeremy would be asleep by then. 7:15 p.m. Sally walked into the living room and sat in the chair beside Jeremy. The sounds of snoring confirmed that her husband was asleep. 7:20 p.m. Masking sure not to make a sound, Sally stood. Jeremy, would you like another beer? Silence. Jeremy? Again, silence. She listened to the rhythmic snoring. Was it safe to try? Grabbing her purse from the counter, she tiptoed to the door. As her hand reached for the doorknob, Jeremy's phone rang. No, not now. She held her breath. Would he wake? Time was passing quickly. The bus would be there in a few minutes. She had to leave now or cancel her plans. Finally, the phone went silent. Jeremy remained asleep. Slowly, she turned the doorknob and opened the door. Slipping through, she closed it behind her. She listened intently. No movement, almost there. Sally ran down the hallway, down the stairs, and out the front door. The bus was already at the bus stop. She ran as fast as she could, watching those in line step onto the bus. No, wait for me! She screamed as the door closed. She was too late. The bus was pulling away. She continued to run, tears marking her defeat. Then, to her surprise, the bus stopped and reopened its door. She sprinted and leaped onto the bus. Expecting to see Jeremy's face, she scanned the passengers. Jeremy wasn't there. She had made it. Taking an aisle seat, she blended into the crowd. No more beatings, no more fear. Her life was starting anew. All right, that's the second story. It was not titled, so it's going to be in the survey as abusive husband. All right, next one is mental escape room. I threw the covers back. I'm still half asleep, but pretty sure I had a scowl on my face. The alarm was going off. Again. So annoying, so demanding, so cruel. It was uncaring as it thunderously judged me for not making anything of myself. Okay, that last part might be me projecting onto an inanimate object. Then again, the way my life was going, it would not surprise me. Why wouldn't the appliances feel sorry for me? I needed to figure out a way to improve my life or stop the rambling of my brain. Man, if only. I should become a writer. My ability to find rabbit holes to journey down seems never ending. The simplest of tasks become a 3 hour introspective fiasco, traveling through the hows and whys of life's choices, either made or not. So, yeah, like now, for instance. Geez, I should turn off the stupid alarm and get out of bed. I need to do something. I can't keep sleepwalking through life. I was tired of being tired. Pick up my phone with the best of intentions. I will be productive today. I will choose to impact my future. I will change my life starting now. I had to fight the urge of my typical routine, trying so hard to stay away from Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm old, never calling it X. Too much temptation. Far too many shiny baubles to snag my attention. If I want to fix myself, I need to change my habits. How was I supposed to do that? Ugh, I can't believe I had no idea how to be a normal human. I was trapped in my own head. A torrent of never ending thoughts barraged me from angles beyond conceivability. How I longed to sit in peace one day, relaxing, worrying about nothing. So, how do I begin that process? Google had always been my go to back when I wanted information. I considered myself a whiz at Googling. I always found what I needed. It was somewhat of an art form, which I was a maestro. People come from miles around to seek guidance in the lost art of Googleizing. Okay, that last part was how the darn rabbit hole works. So freaking sneaky. I should concentrate on less introspection and more typing. I sit down at the computer, thinking of possible keywords or phrases, trying to find help in my journey to fix my mind. And I sitting there, staring at a blank screen for what could be hours. Still, the time passes. It was amazing how stupid the brain becomes when it's needed, when I was relying on it the most. Heck, maybe I should become a writer. Already enjoying writer's block, plagued by distractions internal and external alike. If only I could escape the routine my distracted consciousness loves so much. Wait, escape. That could be the perfect search word. I type it in, hoping for some inspiration once I see it on the screen. No bells, no whistles, no grand eureka moments. Okay, let's start feeding things into the search. See what happens when I add to it. Escape thoughts, escape the voices in my head, escape negativity, escape my brain. Hold on. What in the heck is this? Escape room for your mind. Yes, please, sign me up. I need to see what this is about for sure. Reviews look solid for such a crazy concept. I can't believe technology has progressed so far. Amazing you could do something like this on your phone. You know what? Why not? I'm going to download it and check it out. I wasn't going to do anything productive today anyhow. Let's face facts. If there was an app that would keep my brain busy, stop it from constantly bothering me, sounds like a must buy. Ugh. A waiver to play the game. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. I'm not going to read all that. Scroll to the bottom like I was going for the big money on Price is Right. I don't know about anyone else, but I ain't got time for that. Why do they bother with the legalese? Nobody ever reads it. Get on with it already. Except, okay, let's see here. How to play. There we go. A decent place to start. Here's hoping it's short and sweet. Mental Escape Room is a completely virtual interactive experience. It allows the user to challenge themselves, giving them the ability to reach never before levels of possibilities. Your imagination is the only limit in this environment. Your adventure will start with a standard room. All challenges and obstacles will derive from the depths of your own subconscious. They will react with your mind in a way your senses will have no choice but to assume are real. Warning. There can be a moment of unease as your brain gets accustomed to the sensations utilized by this program. Your sense of reality may be doubted. Don't give up. Don't ever surrender to the situation. Continue the challenges no matter how demanding. You will arrive safely on the other side. Always remember you are in a game. You cannot be physically harmed in any way. Okay, the start button finally appeared once I finished how to play. Guess there's no time like the present. Let's get this going. Whoa, this is a rush. It's like I'm actually in the room. This is freaking crazy. I could see why they needed to remind us it was only a game. This is awesome. As I glanced around, the room began filling with items from my past: childhood toys, college dorm posters, first apartment couch. The realism was intense, too much to believe. My brain was resisting handling this. This felt so real. Now, I have to figure out how the escape part comes in. Oh, shoot. No sooner did I think of that, the room shifted. I think. It kind of feels like it always had been that way, but not really. Sorry, it's difficult to describe the feeling. I had nothing in life to compare it to. Trust me when I say it was messing with my sense of what was real and what wasn't. Not gonna lie, as immersed as I now felt, I wished I had read those darn legal warnings beforehand. This was super intense for sure. I took a better look around. I used to be in a four-walled room with no exit. That was no longer the case. There was now an open hallway leading out to the wall behind me. I thought it was wisest to search my surroundings, see everything there was to see. I may as well get the full experience since I'm here. Walking around the dark hallway, I started getting a weird dizzy feeling. I assumed it was because my body wasn't doing anything, even though my eyes were telling me I was moving. My equilibrium was conflicted by its own senses. I never got into the virtual reality games, so I'm less accustomed to the sensation than most were. I thought it best to take it slower from now on. No reason to go too fast and get sick. Not in a hurry, after all. I stuck out my hand to rest on the wall. It felt solid. The realness continued to surprise me. It seemed sturdy enough to support my weight. Wouldn't that be something? I thought to myself. I reached my hand out and fall through because nothing was there. Immediately after that thought crossed my brain, my hand sucked through the wall. I tried catching myself, but the wall gave no resistance. I wasn't falling as much as I was sinking. It felt like I was sliding through jello. It was cool, almost wet, although not slimy, not gross, but so weird it was uncomfortable. On the other side of the wall was a normal room. The wall I had just fell through was now nearly back to normal. I couldn't push through, but it did give some to my touch. Oh, fantastic, I thought as sarcastically as possible. The jello wall is now a jiggler. At least it wasn't flavored or had a particular smell. That would have pushed my overworked mind a bit too far. I needed to relax and stop my brain from these stupid tangents. I should be happy the room I landed in was normal. I could have gotten dropped into a room filled with something crazy like whipped cream. Oh hell, here we go again. Now I can't stop thinking about a room filled with whipped cream. As if on cue, the floor gave away. I was falling into, of course, whipped cream. I drifted to the bottom. It filled the room. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. I couldn't even swim because there wasn't enough resistance. I could do nothing. My senses were failing me. The only sense active was fear. That and my hearing. I could somehow hear my pulse pounding in my ears. My racing heartbeat reminded me I was about to die in the sticky sweet treat. I began to flail about, hoping for any purchase. My body was constrained. I was being held down from all angles. All moving was in slow motion. It was like I was moving through whipped cream. My fingertips grazed something solid. I leaned my body in that direction, trying my best to get momentum. Panic began to overwhelm what little logic remained. Relief flooded through me as I felt something hard. It was the wall. I willed myself to flow toward the only surface in my life, the one thing that mattered. There was nothing there but the wall. It was brilliantly smooth. It would not be my savior. It was my prison, laughing at me as it watched me flounder, taunting me with its closeness as I became as insignificant as my life. The screaming in my brain was loud, louder than should be possible. I'm sure it's attempting to tell me something important, but I can't for the life of me figure out what could be more vital than this. I was going to die, and my brain wanted to reminisce about the past. My breath screamed for release. I had no hope for escape. There was no way for me to get out of this room. I was going to die here. All at once, I became calm with the notion of death. I accepted it. Hell embraced it. Dejecting, acknowledging my fate, one fatal sigh, one last thing to do before the end. I let out the breath I'd been holding in. Peace. In local news, a young man was found unresponsive in his apartment earlier today. It was later declared legally brain dead by medical examiners. Next of kin have been notified. It is unclear how this tragedy occurred. The victim was logged onto a virtual reality program when discovered. It has not been confirmed if this has anything to do with his condition. Additional information will be passed on as we receive it. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family, friends, and loved ones this evening. All right, that was Mental Escape Room. Next one is called Dark Delivery. The motorcycle exploded out of the darkness, roaring like a caged beast. Sleek and deadly, it flew down the open highway, a black arrow under the starless sky. Kaide Shimzu leaned forward, urging the machine faster. Dank night air whipped around her leather clad figure. She crouched lower, bent over the tank. Gloved fingers stroked the controls, rousing her mount's snarling heart. Kuzo, no time to waste. Reaching back, she double checked the satchel strapped to the seat. Still secure. That Gaijin bastard better not have screwed her over. She ground her teeth, recalling his smug grin and reedy voice as he briefed her on the job. Remember, doll, the package has to arrive intact. No tampering. Its contents are worth more than your life. Fail, and Toshiro-sama will have your head. Threats and mandates, like she was his bitch now, reduced to nothing more than eye candy on wheels. Fuck it. She gunned the throttle wide open. The front forks pushed her arms back as the bike surged forward, a blacktop eating thunderbolt. Adrenaline flooded her veins, icy and electric. Between her thighs, the engine screamed like a banshee. Raw power unleashed. She was a blur, an ebony knife slicing through the night. The city skyline blazed the horizon, a garish kaleidoscope of neon and sin, her destination. She pushed harder, speedometer climbing 90, 110, 125 miles an hour. Yellow lines melted together, the road a dark nebula around her. Tunnel ahead. A black hole in the mountainside, a gaping maw ready to devour flesh and steel alike. Shit. Kaidi's fingers wrung the handlebars, thighs clenching the hot engine like a lover, eyes squeezed shut for a split second. Then she plunged into the abyss. Harsh fluorescence strobed across her mirrored visor. Inky devilry stretched on forever, a bottomless gorge. These damn concrete tubes, why do they have to be so tight? Shadowed silhouettes flashed into her vision. Cars, their crimson taillights lashed out like demonic tongues, slavering, taunting, dissipating into thin air. Only the real road was real, an asphalt ribbon bisecting oblivion's rift. The Ducati's thunderous echoes pummeled her from all sides. Her heart slammed against her ribs, sweat trickling down her spine. The weight of the mountain pressed down, crushing, suffocating. Light glinted off damp, rough-hewn walls that were closing in, trapping her like a stone tomb. Focus, damn it, focus, I own you. Fear, I own you, fear, not the other way around. Faster, had to push faster. Escape this narrow throat before it has consumed her. Then the probing finger of her headlight found the exit. Freedom! Kaide burst out into the busy main street, the open skies and broad sidewalks a balm for her soul. She breathed deep of smog-laced air. Welcomed the city Rotten's core like an old friend, its decadence seeping into her bones. Skyscrapers clawed at the slate gray heavens, glass and steel facades glaring down with cold indifference. Neon signs pulse, smearing wet streets in lurid colors. The sickly sweet stench of vice hung thick in the air. Her kind of place. She dropped a gear and merged with traffic, shooting the gaps just shy of collision. The bike's tires thrummed against slick asphalt, like quicksilver flowing into a bottle. Kaidi never slowed, threading the needle between faceless pedestrians hunched and rain blurred under sagging umbrellas, a ghost in their mist. A police car streaked past, sirens wailing into the dark. The sound rip through techno beats pumping from gambling dens and fetish bars lining the street. Here and there, yellow taxis and stretch limos idled curbside, ready to load up on human cargo. Deeper she went into the city's black pulsing heart, where a world of carnal pleasures and broken dreams awaited. Here, sin was a commodity, flesh the currency. Exhaust billowed in her wake like stagnant hopes. Above, the graphite sky hung oppressive, almost artificial, as if the entire world was one giant cage, and she was the rat running the maze. No, not a rat. A beck and call courier for some arrogant blowhard. Infuriating. How had her warrior spirit been diminished to this farce? She whipped a sharp corner into a drash-strewn alley, killing the engine. Silence crashed down, broken only by the shriek of something not quite human. Rolling on momentum, she slunk into the fetid shadows. Graffiti scarred brick, piss reeking asphalt, skittering rats. Kaidi was a black wraith gliding through decay, silent, deadly, unafraid. This rotting underbelly was her domain, where the strong preyed on the weak and only the ruthless survived. Another turn and she rolled to a stop before a rusted metal door set into a bare concrete wall. Unremarkable, easily overlooked, but appearances deceived. She kicked out the support stand and unstrapped the package. Swinging a leather-clad leg over the seat, she dismounted in one fluid motion. She pouted behind the visor. No one around to admire her skin-tight suit cupping the taut curves of her ass. All business. How dull. Kaidi yanked off her helmet, shook out razor-cut strands black as liquid onyx, caressing porcelain cheeks. Jade eyes flashed, crimson lips curved. Time to face the dragon. She strode up to the door, satchel bouncing on her hip. Its precious cargo now her sole focus. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap. She held her breath, the code ingrained in her bones. An eternity passed. The steel door scraped open, hinge shrieking in protest. A suit-clad guard stepped aside, bowed. Smirking at his proper show of respect, Kaidi slipped inside, a panther melting into blackness. Dim lights, priceless Japanese art on velvet walls, the cloying scent of jasmine, ancient weapons on display, soft jazz notes threading the air. This place held secrets, a world where morality blurred, where monsters wore human skin. Home. Heidi's stiletto heels clicked on polished cherry wood. Long legs wrapped in black leather navigated tight corridors, past shoji screens and lacquered tanzu, heading straight for the inner sanctum where true power lay. Her master's shadow stretched long across the tatami mats, patient and lethal as a coiled viper. Kaidi approached, back straight, stride confident, no hint of the wild ride that brought her to his feet. To show weakness here was to invite death. Shimizu, you're late. His voice was a blade sliding from its sheath. Apologies, Johan. She bowed, presenting the satchel with both hands. It won't happen again. Silence, the pounding of her heart. Damn this suffocating mask of subservience. A necessary evil, for now. See that it doesn't. He snatched the bag from her grasp, dismissed her with a flick of his wrist. Go. Kaidi back 2 steps. Head kept bowed, then pivoted on her heel and marched from the room, chin held high. Fists clenched bloodless inside her gloves. One day, she vowed, one day the serpent would feel her sting, but not tonight. Tonight she upheld her duty, protected her honor. Family was everything. She froze, glimpsed him tearing open the bag. Wires, blocks of C4, numbers flashing red. 30 seconds. Chikashu, that treacherous gaijin, she had delivered their doom. Time dilated. Choices flashed through her mind. Sacrifice herself to prove her loyalty? No. The blast would be too strong. Attempt to disarm it? Not enough time. Only one path remained. She lunged, snatching the bomb, leather bag and all, clutched it tight and ran. Doki, move! She bellowed, shoving past startled guards. Boots pounding, she shouldered through the back door, hit the alley at a dead sprint. Bike, where? There! She leapt onto the saddle, kick-started the still-hot engine. It roared to life. 10 seconds. A wild snarling shattered the silence as she tore off into the drizzling dark. Wrenching the throttle, she rocketed out of the alley at impossible speeds. The docks. Had to make the docks. The satchel burned against her leathers. 5 seconds. 4, 3. Buildings blurred past. Adrenaline sang in her veins. Not like this. Not today. The blood oath had to be upheld. The road's end rushed to meet her. Now! Bailing off the bike, she curled into a ball. Asphalt slammed into her shoulder, brutal and jarring. She rolled, tumbling head over heels. The bike arced gracefully out over the black water. For a single crystalline moment, it seemed to hang suspended. Then the night erupted in fire and fury. A thunderous boom rent the air. Heat washed over her in a blistering wave. Panting, Kaide pushed to her feet, standing tall amid the smoldering wreckage. Burning debris licked the dark waters like a rising phoenix, terrifying and majestic. Her eyes narrowed into slits, hard, merciless. Blood would flow, the guilty would scream. But not too fast. No. She would make the pain last. They had betrayed her, tried to destroy her world, her family. For that, there could be no remorse. A cold smile curved her lips, sharp as a katana's edge. They had no idea the hell that was coming for them. Already, sirens wailed in the distance, drawing closer. Even here, a few honest badges remained. Fools. Tugging her leather catsuit straight, Kaidi vanished into the shadows, as if she had never been. The courier girl was dead. In her place, a dark avenger rose from the ashes, forged in the crucible of treachery. She would be their reckoning, the bringer of woe. This city, this neon-soaked underbelly, would learn to fear her name until she was but a whispered legend, a reminder that even the darkest of hearts could be made to tremble. The moon slipped behind tattered clouds. Rain drizzled down in a fine mist. The game was on, and Kaidi Shimizu never lost. That one is called Dark Delivery. All right. Next one is called The Good Guys. A hard gust forces wind through the calliope pipes, and they sing mournfully for a moment, cacophonic and out of tune. Twisted metal roller coasters loom overhead, their rusted rails creaking. In a small space cut from the overgrown foliage sits my partner, drinking from a silver flask in front of a dying fire. His olfactory senses aren't as keen as mine when I'm paw-footed, but his instincts for danger are unnaturally sharp. Like me, he's a master assassin. He knows he's not alone. I scale the skeleton of the dilapidated amusement park ride and slink closer to him. Have you heard the whispers, Charlie? Aurelius asks without looking up. His voice is wry. A malevolent ghost haunts this cursed place, and the humans are torn between curiosity and terror. I chuff, amused. Ghosts? Whether on 2 legs or 4, the killer will be the terrestrial sort. Immense, perhaps, based on the mutilated animal remains we found, but real. The last scattering of large herbivorous beasts upon the old railroad's attractions tracks finally spooked the locals into actions. Not into investigating the carcasses, of course, but to petition the city controller. It's our mess now. I leap from the scaffolding into the warm light of the fire. Aurelius doesn't give me the satisfaction of flinching in surprise. Instead, he begins to calmly sharpen his daggers. I stretch, long and lazy, protracting my claws to leave furrows in the earth, then fake a yawn to show off a mouthful of carnivorous teeth. Unfazed, he tosses my bags, and it bounces off my chest to land between my front paws. I snarl silently. He levels a cool look at me in response. In a blink, I convert to my 2-footed form. After rubbing my hands over my arms briskly to dispel the tingling, I dress quickly, my skin still oversensitive from the change. Fear is preferred over curiosity, I say. There not being any human deaths yet doesn't mean the creature won't eat people, especially if they start presenting themselves as prey. Aurelius has a small smear of blood along his lower lips, whipped from the flask. I point at it, then gesture to my face, and he wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. Did you find any clues when you climbed the coaster? No. It's time to trace the tracks. You want to take a lead? You're better with blood than I am. Sure, Aurelius says. He kicks out the fire. Stay in the shadows. Let's see if I can tempt a curious ghost out of hiding. We start at the most recent beast, once a colossal stag, now mostly a pile of hide, hooves, and horns. Was the body rent with claws and a beak? I'm no expert, but those aren't tooth marks. Still, the meat was stripped from the skeleton. There are deep gouges in the bones. Urgency twists my stomach. Anything that can do this to a creature as large as the stag would destroy a human. We've got to catch it before people are killed. The sense barrage my sensitive nose. However, it's my acute feline night vision that catches the clue. My partner also notices the discoloration on the antlers, but it's likely his blood sensing ability that picked up the anomaly. It's proof this stag got at least one solid hit on our ghost. There is more than just a vengeful spirit haunting this place. Aurelius turns away from the rusted rides, their unnatural creaks and shadows, and pads into the wooded area where the rails lead. I pull myself into a tree and follow, leaping from branch to branch, agile and graceful even in my two-footed form. At the next carcass on the tracks, Aurelius halts. However, it's a tree he studies. I leap down from my branch to join him, and we examine the odd markings on the bark together. They almost look like cat scratches. Yeah, I say, like a creature marking its territory, and the scent is hard to miss. He quirks an eyebrow. It's not just claw marks. Cat pheromones are slathered all over the tree, too. Ah, says Aurelius. He wants no one mistaking this territory for anything other than his. Worse, there's evidence of humans there. Beer bottles, the remains of a fire. Probably teenagers looking for a parent-free refuge. I crouch down to inspect a torn comic book. It's imperative we stop this creature before people get hurt. So it's a cat or a giant bird of prey? Either is a danger to humans. I observe the lack of tooth marks. Exactly, I say. Any more blood this time? Before he can answer, a massive shadow shifts on the tracks ahead. Aurelius raises a finger for silence, and we still watching. The figure pauses too. Can it see us? And like that, it flaps away into nothingness. We rush to the area where we spotted it. Here again is a giant carcass, rent and torn, only the least desirable pieces of the animal left behind. Do you see the wings? I ask. Wings? It crouched like a big cat. It's not a bird. You must be night blind. You must be stupid. This is stupid, I growl. Eerie cries echo through the night. We pause, listening. After a moment, I look to Aurelius. He nods, and we follow the sound to a sagging train station in disrepair. Is that? Aurelius asks in a harsh whisper. Screeching, maybe squawking, chirping. It's not a bird of prey after all, or even a massive cat. It's the griffin barrels out of the station in a fury, his dappled pelt and feathers blending seamlessly with the shadowy night. He rears and roars as only an eagle can, the call piercing and chilling. Aurelia and I freeze, an atavistic response, our lizard brains overriding our good sense. There's a flurry of talons, and Aurelius's body is thrown to the ground. Before I can so much as draw a blade, the griffin retreats to his lair, leaving my partner lying bleeding on the forest floor. Panic and adrenaline swamp my system. I seize Aurelius by the collar of his leathers and haul him away from the station, deeper into the woods. Once again, in the cover of the trees, I tuck into a hollow, curled protectively around my partner. A long swath stretches behind me, blood and footprints and drag marks. The griffin could track us without effort, but I am depleted and cannot obscure the trail. I cradle Aurelius's wounded form, trying desperately to staunch the bleeding. A wave of hopelessness crashes over me as I rewatch the incident in my mind. Aurelius falling to the ground, his pained bellow echoing through the trees. I've never been more aware of my own limitations. My flask, Aurelius rasps. I retrieve his blood supply and tip it gently to his mouth. At first he doesn't swallow, and I massage his throat to force the liquid down. After a few mouthfuls, he begins to drink, and as I watch, the long slashes on his abdomen seal themselves. His skin is knitting itself together. Aurelius? The gauntness of blood loss is disappearing as his cells replenish themselves. He takes his first full, deep breath since the attack. I try to mirror him, but I'm trembling so hard the exhalation shudders. I'm fine, Charlie. A swallow creaks in my throat, and so are the locals. This statement is so unexpected it takes my brain a minute to process. Are you kidding? This place isn't safe for humans. Right. But they've got a not ghostly reason to cordon off the park. Aurelius takes a sip from his flax. So there's a griffin breeding at Losentville Station, he smiles. He is a she, and she has 2 kits. I draw another shaky breath, still reeling from Aurelius's near-death experience. Allow myself a moment to organize my thoughts. No wonder she was ready to kill you. It explains the cries we heard earlier, too. Yes, he nods, and the need for larger prey. Griffins are a protected species. We notify the local government, they'll guard the area. It'll be a felony for humans to trespass here. I offer up a tentative smile. It's the way to keep everyone safe, both humans and griffins. He aims a lopsided grin my way. It's not often we get to finish a job without hurting someone. It's nice to be the good guys for once. I agree. I offer him a hand and help him sit up. To the good guys, he says. I smile. To the good guys. All right, that's the good guys. And I have one more story, and that is Clean Run. I settle into the dirt, eyes locked on Mom. Anxiety creeps up my spine, watching her walk away. I shift forward a smidgen. She glances over her shoulder and gives me the look. You know what I mean. She knows I'm moved. She released me soon. I know she will. This is the game we play. I want to run, but not until she gives the command. She told me today is an important day. We made it to the finals at Champs. I don't understand, but it means something to her. I risk itching ahead again. I can't help it. I love running with her. She steps over a long plastic ribbon on the ground and halts. Looking over her shoulder, she brings her fist up, waist high. Her eyes connect with mine. Opening her hand, palm up, she says, break, walk it. I take off like a torpedo through the hoop, then up the dog walk ramp. Jump right, bam, she calls when I'm at the halfway point. At the bottom of the down plank, I see the jump. I fly over the bar at an angle, knowing the next is to my right. Boom, tunnel. I slice the backside of the second jump, soar over the next, and bolt for the tunnel. I'm still in it when she gives me my next cue. Up, up! I burst into the tunnel. There's another one set up next to the A-frame. Mom calls this a discrimination test. She also says I'm a tunnel sucker and not to get caught in the vortex. But the vortex is calling. Bruce, up! Almost to the speed noodle. Up, up, up! Bruce Wayne, up! Whoops, my full name. I veer at the last second and bolt up the ramp. That was a close call. Gosh darn vortex. If I had a fist to shake at it, I would. She's next to me now. The flimsy plastic ribbon runs from the ramp along the ground to yet another tunnel. She can't cross the ribbon to run with me. I think it works like the invisible fence at home. Not every dog will work away from their handler, she told me once. I love running beside her, but I can tell the distant work makes her happiest. She promised me ice cream for running clean and fast, which means listening and no goof ups. No more tunnel vortexes either. I must resist. I hit the contact zone on the downside of the A-frame. She uses body language instead of her voice since we're so close. I turn tight through the hoop and exit out. I turn tight through the hoop and hit the next tunnel. Go jump, left jump, she hollers before I out of the tunnel. She's behind me, the ribbon holding her back. I shorten my stride as I reach the first jump. My feet scramble on the arena dirt as I try to make the tight left turn. There's a sharp pinch in my toe and I hop a step. When I place it back down, the pain is gone. Phew! Mom worried she'd have to cancel our champs trip after I broke my toe. One wrong turn in wet grass chasing a bunny this summer almost ended our season. It was tough, but I survived 2 boring months of no agility. Mom was ecstatic when the vent cleared me for training. I don't want to make her sad like that ever again. Weave, she called. I pick up my bass into the poles as she starts a little song. Na 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 na. I bounce back and forth between the weave poles. I get to the end and the crowd yells, Batman, and laughs. That puts an extra pep in my step. I love the cheers. Here, jump, hoop, Mom says, and I head back towards her, taking the obstacles in stride. Out tunnel, I run past her, excited to take the tunnel next to the A-frame. Left hoop, right jump, tunnel, tunnel, tunnel. The triple tunnel spikes my anxiety. She's trying to hurry me along. She's still calling tunnel when I'm still in the tunnel. Did I do something wrong? Was I supposed to take a different one? I emerge to find her standing beside the A-frame. She's pointing with her right hand at the tunnel. Tunnel, tunnel, go on, go on, go, go, go. There's intensity in her voice pushing me to move faster. I explode out of the far end to find another ahead of me. That's it. The end. Whoever chose the final obstacle sequence is my hero. I dig deep and find another gear to cover the 20 feet to the final tunnel. The crowd erupts in cheers and clapping. I blast through the timers and turn to find Mom. The ribbon is holding her captive. I run to help her, but she steps over it on her own. Jogging toward me, she throws her arms open. I launch my 45-pound body at her. She catches me and we spin around. Who's the best boy? Yours the bestest boy. That was perfect, Brucey. Tears stream down her face. I'm confused because everything else tells me she's happy, so why the tears? I lick them away, which causes her to laugh, and she sets me down on my feet. We walk to the chair at the exit, and she grabs my leash. Face, she says, and I put my head through the special leash she's made just for her trials. Strangers congratulate her, and the few friends she has here hug her. She's not much of a people person. I consider growling, but she wouldn't like it. She keeps pushing past everyone, smiling and nodding. We make it our spot in the crafting area. Alone, she digs under all the ice in her cooler and pulls out a pup cup. Yes! At the award ceremony, I stand on the highest step with a huge blue ribbon and a trophy. Mom stands behind me. She can't stop smiling. Strangers take pictures and talk to Mom. She keeps me tight to her side, protecting me from other dogs and people wanting to pet me. I'm not much of a social butterfly either. An hour later, she buckles me into the back seat and then loads our gear into the Bronco. She climbs into the driver's seat with a loud sigh. Glancing at the ribbons and trophy in the passenger seat, she turns her focus to me. Ready to go home, Champion Group Bruce? I gaze into her eyes and give her my best smile. I hope she understands my soft woo 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 means I'll go anywhere with you, Mom. All right. So that final story was called Clean Run. And yes, I'm back to the creepy alleyway. So now it's your turn. Yeah, I'm glad this is your job and not mine because like I said, I really loved the finalists this round. I had a ball reading them. Congratulations to all of you. And honestly, even if you didn't make the finals, this was a very, very tough one. So there were some very close calls even to get to this stage. And of course, we love that. That's fantastic. It does make our life a lot more complicated, though. All right. I am trying to bring up my poll here, and I am struggling with this. Hold on. Ah, thank you, Tad. That was very nice. Um, I don't know why my survey is struggling. Hold on. I apologize. Thought I had it loaded up and I did not. The first story was, let me just go through the stories again while I'm waiting for that. Immured was the first story. The second one is going to be called Abusive Husband. The third one is Mental Escape Room. The fourth one was Dark Delivery. The fifth one was The Good Guys. And the sixth one is called Clean Run. If you need help remembering what they are based on those titles, I think it's all pretty clear. But just in case you have any trouble, just let me know and I can clarify. Six stories. All right, so the survey is in there. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes in order to do it. So please quickly make a decision. All right, I'm curious to see these results as they come in. Immured, the first one was about the person like losing their identity. They were captured and they were being submerged. Ooh, it's close. It's close. All right, another minute. Uh, and then I'm gonna close it up. It is really close though. Every vote counts, everyone. All right. It is hard to pick. I know. I think when I read them, I ended up with one that I would probably pick, but I mean, that's just how I feel right this second. But wow, I'm glad I don't have to pick. Okay, I am closing it right now, and this is going to be the result. Let's see it. Da, 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 da. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be a tie. Oh, not quite. It is really close. The top three were really close, which were The Good Guys, Dark Delivery, and The Abusive Husband. But the winner is The Untitled. Untitled. So, congratulations to the author of that piece. You can feel free to reveal yourself to the community if you would like to. It's up to you. That was quite a gripping story. I was definitely like gripping the chair on that one. So pulse pounding for sure. Keep in mind, next week we're going to be revealing the winners for the May Short Story Challenge. That's to be in the big trophy anthology. So that's going to be really awesome. So stay tuned for that. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to be kicking off our next challenge, which is going to be our Picture That Challenge. And you'll just have to stay tuned for what that means, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, join us for those. If you haven't, like and subscribe and hit the bell. If you're an AutoCrit Pro member, I'm about to head over to the office hours, so feel free to join me for that. And then later on, we have a Story Doctor session at 7 p.m., and that's, of course, available to any AutoCrit Pro member. Keep in mind, if you come into if you come into the community right now, if you want to, you can get an annual membership, and that will include the narrative tension. Ah, Edgar! I was kind of hoping it was yours. It was excellent. It was excellent. Definitely in my top three. All right. I will see you all later. Bye, everyone. You have a wonderful day. Oh, yay! Congratulations, Pam.